Well, summer is for reading novels, and today we've got an action-packed book you must check out. And joining us from Israel is best-selling author Joel Rosenberg to talk about his newest political thriller that's ripped from the headlines. And I'll tell you, Joel, we have the book right here. I can't wait to read it, and I'm the kind of person I want to hear from the author before I open it up because I know there's some tidbits you're going to give us about it. But we have to talk about it, and I want to make sure I say Libyan Diversion is the name of it. And what's very interesting is that this new novel is literally coming from the headlines, some things that we've been seeing. So I got to ask you, the inspiration, is it what's going on in our world right now?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. It comes from the crisis that's going on the U.S.-Mexican border, right? 5.7 million people have illegally entered the United States. I don't have to tell you, you live in Arizona, right? So you know the challenge. And we're not talking about people that just want to come for freedom and economic opportunity. God bless them. But there is a legal way to do it. But in the Libyan diversion, terrorists are trying to get into the United States through the U.S.-Mexican border. And they're not just coming to do 9/11. No, they're bringing nuclear dirty bombs to do something far worse than 9/11. Yeah. The whole thing comes out of a conversation I had a few years ago with a friend of mine, former Secretary of State, former CIA Director Mike Pompeo, who said, Joel, you've got to focus on the dangers of that U.S.-Mexican border because it's not just the threat of terrorists. You've got drug runners, drug cartels, human traffickers, organized crime. But what if radical Islamist terrorists from the Middle East try to penetrate that border? It's a terrifying thought, and it's a terrifying novel.
And you just said right there, because literally, I mean, this book was written before our news, what is it, almost 3 or 4 days ago, they actually stopped a group coming into our country, which is amazing. So let's talk about the plot of this, because you kind of like mentioned it a little bit about how this came about. So what's the plot of this book?
Yeah. So the main character is a guy named Marcus Riker. He is a guy who grew up in Colorado, but saw 9/11 on television, joined the Marines the next day, deployed to combat tours in Afghanistan, Iraq, comes home, marries his high school sweetheart, works for the U.S. Secret Service, protecting the President of the United States and our top leaders. And eventually now, by this book, this is the 5th in the series, but you can start with this one, the Libyan Diversion. Now he's one of the top operatives in the Central Intelligence Agency, and he is hunting down the world's worst terrorist. The problem is the world's worst terrorist knows he's coming for him, and so he's set up a diversion. He's trying to get Marcus Riker and the CIA looking this way when terrorists are coming into the United States that way. And again, not just to do normal terror attacks, but to bring nuclear weapons into the United States through the Mexican border and to do something far, far worse than 9/11. And that's, look, I hope, you mentioned that this is ripped from the headlines. Let's pray that it isn't tomorrow's headlines. Right now, you're right, 83 terrorists have been captured entering the United States illegally through Mexico just this year, 83. Wow. The question is, how many have the U.S. authorities not captured? And then the question is, what are they planning? What are they plotting? And I don't think an American president or party is going to be forgiven by the American people. If a horrific series of attacks happens, like in the Libyan diversion, and they came in through the Mexican border and the president didn't really do anything to stop them, this is a constitutional responsibility. It's a moral responsibility to protect the American people on that border.
Wow. I'll tell you, this is so important right now of reading this, and we want to talk about that, of educating people through novels like this about our world, about what's going on. And that's something that you want people to do, don't you?
I do. The challenge is most people don't want to be educated. They don't want to read an op-ed or hear a speech or watch C-SPAN, right? Most people want to be entertained. And so we can kick against that. We can resist that, bemoan it. Or we can write a political thriller that grabs you by the throat, pulls you in, look, I have to do it better than anybody else because you really want to watch Netflix tonight. You really want to go swimming. You want to play with the kids. You want to play golf. Most people don't want to read. So first I have to grab you, then I have to hold you. I have to earn it every single page. And that's why there's a high stakes, high intensity. I don't let off the gas. Plus, the love story of Marcus Riker, who is a widower. His wife and son were murdered, and now he's trying to decide, can I ever get married? Am I going to be alone forever? And by the way, what woman's going to want to marry me when this is my life? Do I quit? Anyway, it's all there in the Libyan Diversion.
Oh my gosh. I'll tell you, Joel, I'm already ready to pick it up because I'm going to give a little away. I have a feeling that there's a new Mission Impossible coming out. I feel this might be better than Mission Impossible to read in person before you even go watch that movie, because this is kind of like talking about what we're doing right now, which is so amazing. So I love it.
Well, I hope so. I hope so, and I'll tell you, Tom Cruise and I are both from Syracuse, New York originally, so that must be the place where you have to be involved in thrillers. And he's done. He's filmed his last 2 Mission Impossibles, and it's over for him. So we need a new hero, Marcus Riker. He's the guy.
There it is. I love it. Joel, where can people pick up the book?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any bookstore that you love, it's in there this week. And you can go to joelrosenberg.com. Again, joelrosenberg.com to learn more about the books, to order it, to learn more about me.
I love it. Well, I know one thing we're learning is that you are literally there in Israel, at Jerusalem, and beautiful background there. So we thank you for joining us.
It's great to be with you. Thank you so much.